I have great pleasure in extending a warm and hearty welcome to all of you to this very important webinar on drinking water and sanitation for all, which Sri Upendra Prasad Singh ji, IS, Secretary, Department of Drinking Water and Sanitation, Water Resources, River Development, Ganga Rejuvenation of the Government of India this morning. We are extremely thankful to Sri Upendra Prasad ji for kindly accepting our invitation and coming on this very important webinar today, in spite of his busy schedule, to share with his views and perspectives on various issues. Access to clean water and sanitation services continue to be a priority for India, with which already houses one-sixth of the world's population. India receives mean annual precipitation of around 3,880 billion cubic meter. After evaporation and other factors, the utilizable water available is limited to 1,122 billion cubic meter per annum, comprising of 690 BCM of surface water and 432 BCM of groundwater. Out of this, the water potential utilized is around 699 BCM, comprising of 450 BCM of surface water and 249 BCM of groundwater, as per the reports by the Central Water Commission. Total requirement of the country for different uses of water 2025 and 2050 has been projected at 843 BCM and 1180 BCM respectively for 2025 and 2050. It is a matter of great satisfaction that the central government is keen to achieve this target of providing safe drinking water to all by 2024. The Jal Jeevan Mission, launched on 15th August 2019, is a landmark initiative and will lead to increase in the standard of living of rural population of India by the way of house connection or water supply. Sir, however, at many places it has been seen that it has still been implemented without augmenting the water supply system in the first place. It has been implemented in the water supply scheme designed to cater for standposts, and thus this will lead to adverse efficacy of the system. Sir, there has been too much dependence on depletion of groundwater. The central government's focus on surface water source for water supply schemes is sincerely appreciated since it is a sustainable model and will lead to less exploitation of groundwater resources. This will also help in controlling geological imbalances. 89% of the water available in the country is used by the agriculture sector. Saving about even 5 or 10% of the water used by agriculture can help to meet drinking water requirements of the country for the next 50 years. Excess fluoride in India may be affecting tens of millions of people across 19 states, while equally worryingly, excess arsenic may affect up to 15 million people in West Bengal, according to the World Health Organization. The arsenic problem in 7 districts of the state had been the most widespread in the world, excepting Bangladesh. Water for irrigation and agriculture should also be made arsenic free, like the water for human consumption. Otherwise, fruits and vegetables grown from trees are prone to arsenic water, might also contain elements leading to cancer. Sir, we feel that there should be interventions in the following areas for your kind consideration: more stress on surface water and less use of groundwater. Water conservation should go hand in hand with the rainwater harvesting. Reuse of used water through water purification activities. Ensure supply of non-contaminated water to control waterborne diseases, and arsenic-free water for drinking purposes. Regarding water treatment projects, prices of inputs such as PVC and HDPE pipes have skyrocketed in the past 3-4 months to the extent of 35 to 40%. Prices for cement and TMT bars have also risen exponentially. It has become unviable to execute projects. The price rise seems to be artificial and needs to be investigated. We would request your department to kindly look into this and address the issue. Regarding sanitation, India still has one of the highest open defecation rates in the world, a problem that comes with severe public health consequences, including high levels of child malnutrition. The Swachh Bharat mission, launched on the 2nd of October 2014, had targeted to ensure that an open defecation free India by 2019. The success rate of urban ODF was quite impressive. However, a survey by the NSO in November 2019 claimed that About 28.7% of rural households across India still lacked any access to any form of latrines. Moreover, 3.5% of those who have access to latrines don't use it. In West Bengal, although the district of Nadia has been the first one to become ODF in the country, the state has been lagging behind in the overall ODF tag. We would like to know more about the latest developments in this regard. Sir, with these few words, may I now request you kindly to share your perspectives and thoughts. Thank you all. Upendraji, we are eagerly waiting to hear you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good afternoon to good morning to all of you. I'm happy to share. In fact, you have already outlined kind of what I am supposed to speak actually. So let's first talk about the water availability actually. My take, like everybody, whenever any kind of a webinar, seminars takes place, everybody starts with certain data actually. And the data basically goes to show that India is a water stressed country in the sense that usually one data, of course, you have told in terms of how much precipitation we get, how much of that is utilizable, how much of that is utilized. But then there are some other data which everybody quotes. One is that 18%, India has 18% of the world population, whereas water availability, fresh water availability is only about 4% actually. Similarly, we say that 17% or somebody says 16% of the cattle population, because cattle also require water. So that's also 17% of cattle population is in India. Another figure which is always given is the per capita water availability, that how per capita water availability has come down from a level of more than 5,000 meter cube per year per person to a level of about 1,400 or so. The third, of course, the issue which is being talked about is India has a very wide variation, both a spatial variation as well as temporal variation in terms of the rainfall actually. There are areas which gets of 300, 400 millimeters rainfall, and there are regions which get 3,000, 4,000 millimeter of rainfall. And then it's not only a spatial variability, but temporal variability in the form of a fact that most of the our rainfall takes place during the monsoon months actually, that means confined to about 3 months or so. Now the new elephant in the room there is it's what is called impact of climate change. And impact of climate change, even though the data doesn't show that in 5 years or 7 years it has impacted the overall rainfall, but then distribution of rainfall has been impacted very widely actually. So as a result, what is happening right now, the number of rainy days have come down, in the sense that maybe a same 200 millimeter rainfall was distributed over 5 days. Now the 200 millimeter rainfall takes place over 3 hours actually. All these facts are correct. There is nothing, there is no arguments about these. But in spite of all this, I feel, I have been here in this sector for now more than 4.5 years actually. I'm quite an old man in this ministry. My feeling is that India is not a water stressed country, or India is not a water scarce country. People use something called a Falcon mark to say that, okay, if you go through less than 1700 meter cube per person per year, then you become a water stressed, and then you go beyond certain levels, then you become water scarce and all. First of all, I do not see why per capita water availability, because individually we need water. Basically per person needs a water for its daily needs, whether it's a drinking water needs or other chores. But of calculating overall requirement on the basis of per capita, see, now someone says that today we have per capita availability of less than 1/4 than what we used to have in 1950 or 1947. That's obvious, because your water resources has not changed, where the population has increased of 4 to 5 times. So naturally, if numerator remains same, denominator becomes 4 and 5 times more, then naturally the quotient would become 1/4 or 1/5. But then why should a per capita water availability, when you are talking of irrigation, when you are talking of industries, then why per capita water availability should be so important actually? So that's what I say, that a country which gets more than 1,000 millimeter of rainfall, in spite of spatial and temporal variation, that's fine. But a country which gets 1,000 millimeter of rainfall can never be a water scarce country actually, provided we manage our water well. It has a number of examples are there. Whenever we talk of wastewater management, we talk of either Israel or Singapore or something. Now Israel, how much rainfall takes place? I am told that average rainfall doesn't exceed 300 or 400 millimeter, but still they manage it very well. In India also, there are many examples where people have, everybody talks of a Hibre Bazaar model of water management, whereby they manage with just 400 or 500 millimeter rainfall. Somebody talks of Laporia model of water management. Again, they don't get more than 500 or 600 millimeter rainfall, but still it is not, still they meet all their requirements of water actually. So I feel that basically it is the way we manage our water. We are very inefficient user of water, whether it is in agriculture, whether it's an industry, or whether it's a municipal water supply. We are very inefficient user of water, and our strength, in my opinion, lies in that inefficiency. As you very rightly pointed out, that if we become, let's say, 10% more efficient with the way we utilize water in irrigation, which takes 89% of total water, then we will get enough water actually, because we don't require so much water for, let's say, our drinking water needs. See, even if the present 1450 meter cube per year per person translate into almost 4,000 liters, 3972, I did a calculation. And whereas our norm says that we require 135 liter per person per day in urban areas and 55 liters in rural areas. So the water availability per person, if we think in terms of the need for drinking water and sanitation kind of, then we have enough water actually. So if we manage well, there is no reason why tankers should come into force as far as supplying water in urban and rural areas is concerned. So that's one point which you said about water resources. I do agree with your groundwater. Unfortunately, groundwater has not got its due in this country for very long, because groundwater is always treated as a second cousin of surface water. But it's a groundwater. Today, if you see, 65% of total irrigation water requirement is met from the groundwater. 85% of the rural drinking water needs are met from the groundwater. 50% of industrial water requirement is met from the groundwater. 50% of the urban water supply is met from the groundwater. Now, with this so much requirement, one good thing is that we get good rainfall, groundwater get recharged. Actually, it's a kind of a renewable resource. But then we must ensure that we extract only as much as we put inside into the aquifers actually. And this is the major problem today, that are parts of the country, whether it's in Haryana or Punjab or Rajasthan or Gujarat or Tamil Nadu or parts of Karnataka, where the water which is going into the aquifers is much less, rainwater going into the aquifers as compared to what we extract actually. So if we extract 200 or 300% of what is going inside into the aquifers, then it will become unsustainable actually. And that is why we need to manage our groundwater much better. And to that extent, you are right when you said that we should not so much be dependent on groundwater, but for even drinking water needs, the emphasis should be on surface water actually. So, but again, on groundwater management, we are bringing a paradigm shift by implementing something called Atal Bhujal Yojana, where basically we are talking in terms of participatory groundwater management. It is the villagers who can measure the water, quantify the water, rainfall, water use. They can prepare what is called a water budgeting, and based on the water budgeting, they can prepare water supply plan, water security plan, and then take the supply side management measures or demand side management measures. We have been talking of only supply side management measures so far actually. Generally, we have not been talking so much of demand side management, and where basically what I am saying is that you can always reduce demand. Everybody says by 2020 or by now, we are already in 2020, by 2030 or 2040, our water requirement will increase to such and such. Why should total water requirement should increase? Many countries have shown that their water, just because population increases, it doesn't mean that your water requirement increases. If you have non-revenue water, which is 50%, if you can bring down that non-revenue water to 10% by a municipal corporation, you can meet the requirement of 30-40% extra population, which will come up in next 30 or 40 or 50 years actually. The USA has not, the water requirement in USA has not increased. In fact, I was the other day sharing a dais like this with a Denmark ambassador to India, And he was saying that in their country, last 20 years, the water requirement has come down to 50% than what they were using actually by becoming more efficient. So there has to be emphasis on demand side management as well, actually. Now, so you talked about groundwater. I do agree. I always say, in fact, when you talked about Jal Jeevan Mission, a few things you basically primarily, perhaps you wanted me to talk about Jal Jeevan Mission. It is not that, I would admit that it's not that the first time government of India or the state governments are implementing a water supply scheme. In fact, I remember way back in 1985 when I had joined this service, and in the remote tribal areas of Odisha, when I used to travel, then the only sign of government used to be a hand pump actually. So hand pumps were there. The only thing is, earlier we thought maybe wells, sanitary wells, then we came to hand pumps, and then we have different norms actually, that for every 250 population, if you have a hand pump, then it's okay. Later on, it looked as if the 250 population should not be a criteria, because there are many hamlets which are small hamlets, scattered hamlets, and they didn't have a source. So then we kept on changing. So this time we have changed the goalpost actually. This time we are talking in terms of 1 minute, just 1 minute. Sorry. Uh, so what we are saying is that this time a goalpost is different, in the sense that when Honorable Prime Minister announced this Jal Jeevan Mission, Har Ghar Nal Ka Jal, on 15th August 2019, that time it was estimated that about 3.23 or 3.22 crore of the total households have this a tap connection actually, or water from the tap. And we have about 19 crore total households in the rural areas. So that means 19 minus 3.23. So almost 15.77 or so, or 67 crores, which is now almost approximately 16 crore people are to be provided with functional tap connection. And this number now, of course, that time number was 3.23, and now the number is little more than 6 crore actually. So we have added something like 2.8 crore or 2.9 crore in the meantime of additional connections. But then, as you rightly have pointed out a few things, and we are very cognizant of that fact. That one is that we are cognizant of the fact that source sustainability is very important. And that's why one of the component of Jal Jeevan Mission is source sustainability. Otherwise, we will have tomorrow water, but we will have a tap, but there is no water would be coming out of the tap, because we are talking not of just infrastructure. We are talking of functional tap connection with regular supply, with minimum 55 liters per day, and of the right quality. So all these are the things. So source sustainability we are we are very cognizant of, and that is why we are basically always talking in terms of water conservation, rainwater harvesting, etc. Yesterday also, in fact, last year we have taken a Jal Shakti Abhiyan. This year again we are going to launch Jal Shakti Abhiyan. And yesterday only we had a joint kind of a meeting with Ministry of Youth Affairs, because Nehru Yuva Kendra Sangathan, we are joining to spread awareness about the water conservation in the rural areas of the country. Similarly, one of the very important aspect is also quality. We are very conscious of the fact, whether you, of course, you are in West Bengal, so maybe Gangetic Belt has problem of arsenic, but then there are problems of other quality also, whether it's a nitrates, whether it is fluoride, or whether it's more iron. But already a lot of work has been done, and we are right now also, because earlier there was under earlier scheme also there was a submission on water quality, but that has been subsumed now in Jal Jeevan Mission. We are equally conscious of the quality also. So as I told you, the functionality, A regular supply, a quality and quantity. All these are very important components, and the source sustainability. We are also talking in terms of grey water management, because if the more water is available, then chances are that more grey water will be generated. So that's also a component of this project actually. And we have right now, as you many times it says that there is a tab, but it's not functional or something. So we have also organizing a company. We have taken up basically a functionality assessment of about this 6 crores number, which we have gone up from 3.23 to 6 crore plus. We have taken up a functionality assessment also, which will give us a very a good feedback. I think within a month's time, the report should be available with us, which will reflect basically what the ground realities are. Are there complaints of irregular supply of water, quality of water, poor quality of infrastructure in terms of pipes or in terms of taps, etc. So we are working on that. You also mentioned about the sanitation, because the water and sanitation goes hand in hand actually. I will have to, frankly speaking, look at the NSO basically, because what is happening, sometimes the figures are quoted in out of context also. So I will have to have a look at it. But it's a fact that when Honorable Prime Minister announced this, that India will become ODF in next 5 years, that was way back, as you remember, 15th August 2014. And that time, every second person who was defecating in open was in India actually. We had almost kind of a 50 crore. In fact, we had about 39% only people have that time a latrine. That we have added about 10.7 crore latrine actually. And the India declared itself open defecation free as on 2nd October 2019. But yes, I will admit I'm not very sure, because 27% seems to be too high a figure, what you quoted actually. But I will have a look at it. But I would, yes, now also we keep again verifying, and from different kind of both government sources. As you understand, we have surveys, NARS and all surveys are there. So we do it from government as well as non-government organizations, international bodies. They all have done survey actually. And the figure both for availability as well as utilization is pretty good. But yes, there are some gaps, and that is why it is not the end of. A lot of people think that Swachh Bharat Mission has come to an end. No. In fact, from this year, we have started what is called a Swachh Bharat Mission Phase 2. And Swachh Bharat Mission Phase 2 have 3 components mainly, I would say. One is the sustainability, and the other is basically solid waste management, and the third is liquid waste management. So basically the 3 pillars. Sustainability in the sense that 2 things on sustainability. One is that wherever gaps are there, that's why we have something called LOB, left out of baseline survey. When baseline survey was made, maybe for some reason some of the houses were not counted there. Then we brought out something called a NOLB, no one to be left behind. That any person who is still found without a toilet will be provided with a toilet or a functional latrine. And the third category is something called a new HHs, new households. Because in India, we have estimated that almost about 30 odd lakhs households, new households are there every year. Either a person gets separated or whatever account may be. So that also, and we have already provided we have constructed about 40 lakhs latrines during this year also, even after the ODF status, because ODF status at one point of time does not mean ODF status will continue all the time, because new houses would keep coming actually. But then sustainability, other parties basically uses how good it is being used actually. Of course, there are certain other regions also. Sometimes if you don't have, in fact, that's why our Jal Jeevan Mission would also help, would help in a better use of latrines, because you will have a tap water availability in the house. So, but we are, apart from constructing new latrines for those who were either left out or the new households, we are also constructing a fairly large number of what is called a community sanitary complexes in rural areas. The reason being, we found out somewhere that there is no space in some of the houses to construct a toilet. In some other cases, we found very recently a team has gone and they reported that since the people who have constructed houses on encroached land, and that is why latrines have not been constructed. Some people are basically using a shared latrine also. So because of all this, we have gone for community sanitary complexes, and we plan almost that a 3 lakh community sanitary complexes would be totally constructed, which would mean basically on an average, every second house will have a community sanitary complex as well. And we are also ensuring that those are not only community sanitary complexes are constructed, but there should be a proper mechanism for their cleaning and maintenance. And that also we are ensuring. So this is in brief as far as the Jal Jeevan Mission and a Swachh Bharat Mission. Sorry, I didn't talk much about the solid and liquid waste management, because ODF by itself does not lead to cleanliness of the village basically. If we want to achieve a total sanitation, then there has to be a system whereby both solid and liquid waste is managed. Solid waste, of course, as you understand, there is no rocket science, but it's a daily process, in the sense that it's not a one-time activity that you construct a latrine and that's end of it. People would be using. Here, basically a door-to-door collection and then segregation, transportation, segregation and processing separately for a biodegradable and non-biodegradable. So these are the part of the SWM initiative under Swachh Bharat Mission 2. Under liquid waste management, it could be a grey water, it could be a black water. Generally, there is not so much black water in the rural areas. But yes, whether it could be just a simple individual soak pit, or it could be a community soak pit, or it could be other kind of constructed wetland or 3-pond or 5-pond system. So all that is being taken up under, this is the first year of Swachh Bharat Mission phase 2, and we will continue it for the next 4 years. There is adequate budget provision for this, and additional funds are also available from Finance Commission. Finance Commission for this year allocated a total sum of something like 60,750 crores to PRIs, Panchayati Raj institutions, whether it's a Jila Parishad or whether it's a Block Panchayat or a Gram Panchayat. And out of 60,750 crores, 50% of that, 30,375 crore is tied fund, tied for only water and sanitation. So PRIs have to spend something like 30,375 crore this year. They will get, and half of that they have already got. So 15,187.5 crore has already gone to the Panchayati Raj institutions. So PRIs will not have problem of maintaining the assets and taking up solid and liquid waste management, that from where do they pay to, let's say if they engage a sanitary worker or something, where do they pay from? Of course, one is that they are also charging in many cases user charges, but we also have this 15th Finance Commission funds available. So in short, we are working, of course, on providing tap water to every household by 2024. And it is not that all the states will achieve that in 2024. Maybe a state like West Bengal or Uttar Pradesh will achieve only in 2024. But then Goa is one state which has already has achieved this status. We are hopeful of at least 4 more states like Telangana and Bihar who had their scheme earlier also, and 2 other smaller states on Union Territory. Similarly, we have lined up for 2022, 2023, and some larger 9-10 states would be basically achieving in 2024. But as again, I'm repeating that emphasis is not on infrastructure alone. Emphasis is basically on functionality. And in case of sanitation also, we are not sitting on our ODF status, but we are going ahead, and sustainability and solid and liquid waste management are being ensured. And we have got from a concept of ODF to ODF plus actually. We have also defined what is called our ODF plus, and some of the villages have already become ODF plus. We are on maybe in next 4 years times, we plan that every village have this ODF plus status. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. That was very interesting and very exhaustive with all the information that you've given us. But the human mind still always has some questions, and I know that a lot of people who are in the audience would like to ask some questions. So, if you don't mind, do we have some time, sir, to take some questions?
Sure.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So, I will request people, I mean, I know people have asked some question on the chat. So, if you can raise your hand, we can bring you in and you can ask the question for yourself in Zoom. Munmundi, can you please bring in Shyamji? हाँ श्याम जी अपना क्वेश्चन पूछिए.
हाँ जी, नमस्कार सिंह साहब.
नमस्कार.
हाँ सर, हम लोग ये पीवीसी पाइप्स और एचडीपी पाइप्स बनाते हैं वेस्ट बंगाल में.
हाँ जी.
तो यहाँ यहाँ हम लोग देखते हैं कि सेंटर की जो स्कीम आती है जिसमें कि प्लास्टिक पाइप्स पे नॉर्मली आप लोग का जोर रहता है एचडीपी और पीवीसी पाइप्स लगाने के लिए. पर यहाँ आने के बाद वीसी की वो डीआई में कन्वर्ट हो जाती है और डीआई पाइप्स को यहाँ जो म्यूनसिपैलिटीज है या जो गवर्नमेंट है वो डायरेक्टली परचेज करती है, वेरेज एचडीपी और पीवीसी को कॉन्ट्रैक्टर्स के भरोसे छोड़ देते हैं खरीदने के लिए. तो सर इससे एमएसएमई के ऊपर थोड़ा स्ट्रेस आता है और इसमें हम लोगों को डिलेड पेमेंट्स मिलते हैं कॉन्ट्रैक्टर से. कई बार काम भी मिलने में परेशानी होती है, प्राइसेस पे भी स्ट्रेस रहता है. तो सर इसके बारे में अपना डिपार्टमेंट, क्योंकि सर हमने तो ये यूनिट्स मतलब अभी इसी दिनों इन अच्छे दिनों के लिए लगाई थी कि जहाँ पे हम लोग पाइप सप्लाई कर सकें और काम तो बहुत अच्छा हो रहा है अपना जल जीवन मिशन में और सारे डिपार्टमेंट्स में. हमने बिहार में भी कर रहे हैं काम, असम में भी कोशिश कर रहे हैं, बंगाल में कर ही रहे हैं हम लोग काम. तो सर इसके लिए एमएसएमई के लिए आप लोग जो प्रोडक्ट मैन्युफैक्चरर है उनको कैसे सेफगार्ड कर सकते हैं और कैसे हम लोग और अच्छी सेवा दे सकें डिपार्टमेंट को, इसके लिए भी क्या प्लान है आप लोग का? ये एक कुछ सवाल है मेरा.
नहीं ठीक है, अच्छी बात है कि आपने ये चीज फ्लैग किया. फ्रैंकली स्पीकिंग, I would not be in a position to give you a satisfactory reply right now because this is something which has not been brought to my notice by anybody else. Maybe the purpose of this kind of interaction is that some of your issues you can flag actually. Because देखिए ऐसा है कि आप जानते ही हैं कि इंडिया में water is a state subject actually. So while we give guidelines, even Jal Jeevan Mission has guidelines to ensure even a quality of the infrastructure, but basically implementation is left to the states. और ये स्कीम भी ऐसा है जिसमें 50% पैसा हम देते हैं और 50% पैसा जो है वो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट भी देती है एक्चुअली. सो इट्स अ सेंट्रली स्पॉन्सर्ड. सो इफ दिस इज एन इशू वेयर यू आर टॉकिंग ऑफ, बेसिकली वन इज द use of PVC HDP pipe versus DI pipe actually. That's one. And the second is the mode of purchase. What you have said is that while PVC HDP pipe is generally left to a contractor who has got a contract for executing that work, whereas the DI pipes are generally purchased directly. So anyway, since you have flagged this issue, let me find out what our guidelines are and then what are the practices in different states. Because in different states also it varies from one state to another, even implementation mode. Since you are doing in Bihar was the one state. Bihar and Telangana, they were two states where they had one scheme of providing a tap water to every household. And in Bihar, this job was left to basically wards. Unless there is a multi-village scheme or quality affected area, this was left to a ward member actually. Every ward member basically executed this scheme for his ward, and one gram panchayat may have 10 or 15 or 20 ward actually. And so they are the ones who did a boring, they are the ones who did a small maybe 10,000 15,000 liter capacity tank, and then also they did the distribution system. That model, nowhere else that model is existing. And we have also got some complaints, I do not know to what extent that's correct, but we also got complaints that a large number of wards, the quality of pipe and the quality of tap, etc., which has been used is not very up to the mark actually. So there could be, because as I told you, the states government have their own variation as far as the implementation is concerned. But your point I have taken note of, and certainly I will look into it.
Sir, the second question is, like Mr. Rishabh Kothari pointed out, that the prices of plastic and metal pipes have gone up substantially. Now the whole pressure is coming on the manufacturer or on the contractor who is pushing us on the prices. Now, how do we carry forward and how do we work? I mean, in this kind of situation, like in PVC pipes, the prices have gone up by 60%. And in case of GI pipes also, the prices have gone up. So all the material cost has gone up. You might be knowing very well, because of this pandemic and maybe other situation, the prices of all the products have gone up. So this is a second big issue which is
नहीं,
to be
but ये
pointed.
how is it affecting you? Just to understand. अगर मतलब अगर प्राइसेस ज्यादा हो गए तो मुझे तो लगता है कि अगर आप सप्लायर हैं तो आपके लिए अच्छा है. आपका आपसे ज्यादा रेट पे चीजें खरीदी जा रही हैं तो इज इट नॉट गुड फॉर यू? आई एम नॉट एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट. सी
नहीं सर.
जनरली व्हाट इज हैपनिंग,
हाँ.
मे बी अब कारण कई हो सकते हैं. अगेन इसको भी देखने की जरूरत है. एक तो क्या होता है कि कई बार अगर ऑल ऑफ अ सडन डिमांड बढ़ जाते हैं, ऑल ऑफ अ सडन डिमांड अगर बढ़ जाते हैं तो एक तो वो डिमांड एंड सप्लाई कम्स इनटू प्लेस एक्चुअली, एंड इट रिमेन्स सो फॉर सम टाइम टिल सप्लाई आल्सो मैचेस विद डिमांड. तो एक तो ये हो सकता है कि चूंकि सारे स्टेट्स में अभी है कि नहीं भाई हमको पाइप से पानी सप्लाई करना है सारे स्टेट्स में, तो इसीलिए भी हो सकता है कि प्राइसेज बढ़ी हो. और दूसरा जो है वो आई डू नॉट नो, बट अब वो भी हमें चेक करना पड़ेगा, बिकॉज अगेन दिस इज समथिंग व्हिच यू हैव ब्रॉट टू माय नोटिस. बिकॉज हम बताया ना कि हम वो उस इम्प्लीमेंटेशन स्टेज पे मैं नहीं देखता हूँ. मे बी सम ऑफ द माय ऑफिसर्स मे बी अवेयर ऑफ दिस फैक्ट आल्सो कि पीवीसी के जैसे आपने प्राइसेस बताया कि वो 60% प्राइसेस बढ़ गए हैं. बिकॉज यूजुअली प्राइस जो है, हम तो कहते हैं कि कोई कॉन्ट्रैक्ट या टेंडर होता है तो प्राइस इज डिटरमिन्ड बाय द मार्केट फोर्सेज एक्चुअली. हम तो कई बार हम कहते हैं कि एस्टिमेट बनाने की क्या जरूरत है, हम तो एस्टिमेट किसी चीज का बनाते हैं बेसिकली टू नो रीजनेबलनेस ऑफ द प्राइस. बट कई बार वो एस्टिमेट्स में ही सारा खेल हो जाता है एक्चुअली. सो प्राइस शुड बी डिस्कवर्ड बाय द मार्केट. सो मैंने आपने भी सोचा होगा ना, जैसे आपको पहली बात तो हमें यह बताइए कि हाउ इज इट अफेक्टिंग यू, मतलब व्हाट आर यू मैन्युफैक्चरर और आर यू बेसिकली अ डीलर? सो हाउ इज इट अफेक्टिंग you? That's one. And second thing, what do you think? What is the reason why there have been so much of a price increase? If you could give some feedback, then I'll look into it.
Sir, it is the international shortage in the raw material, because most of the petrochemical products come from outside India. It is
Okay.
shortage of container, and there are some countries where the production has gone down of the raw material of the chemicals. Now, I am a manufacturer, and how is it affecting me is like whenever a contractor is getting a job at say 100 rupees, and he is expecting that he can get the pipes at 40 rupees. And now when he hears that the pipe cost is now 60 rupees, so it is affecting his profit. So ultimately I mean, either he is unable to do the work, or he is like planning to, go to the lower quality products.
So while he quoted price, he did not perhaps anticipate this kind of a
Yes, sir.
increase. What you
Yes,
are
sir.
saying is
Yeah.
that this kind of increase, the cost of raw material has increased so substantially
Yeah.
that he is not able to perhaps absorb in his profit margin or whatever. So
Right.
either he would not be in a position to execute the work, or maybe he would try to shortcut and use a poorer quality material or something.
Yes.
Okay, let me have a look at it. Okay, fine.
Sure, sure. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think Nirmal ji also wants to ask a question. Nirmal ji.
I don't want to ask a question. Actually, this entire issue regarding the increase in prices and the resultant problem in the market, it is not only with plastics, it's across the board with steel, cement and everything. What has actually happened is the price increase has been too fast and too steep. Now, gradual price increases, everyone takes into account when quoting that yes, over a period of time, say in 6 months or 1 year, prices can go up. But if prices go up by 50 or 60% in a matter of 2 or 3 months, everything goes haywire, because no contractor in a competitive market keeps this much margin that can absorb a 50% increase in input prices. Now, as a result, in the entire supply chain, margins are squeezed. So the contractor will squeeze the manufacturer, and the raw materials, since they are commodities, there's no control. Now, I will take the example of steel, which was also talked about here. The cost in the country has gone up by, and that also because NMDC has increased prices of iron ore, has gone up by say around about 5,000 rupees a ton. Whereas the price increase has been more than 20,000 rupees a ton, because there's an international increase in prices. Now, what happens is most of Indian
Nirmal ji,
industry.
Nirmal ji, we have very little time with Secretary.
Fine.
Sir.
No. His point is
Ask a
already
question.
understood. No problem. Yeah.
So UP, what happens is I've spoken earlier also, and because of this situation, what happens is that whenever there's a problem in the local industry where people say, talk about free markets, and they say that there's a problem in the industry, we need protection. Now, what becomes a contentious issue is that when international markets go down, you need protection because your cost is high. But when international markets go up unnaturally, then you say it's the free markets and we have to go in line with international markets. And it hurts the economy in general, government projects execution, and the entire value chain is stressed. Now, the bigger problem, the bigger picture is that we have to take care of such things and see that how we control it. That is the bigger picture.
Is it Nirmal Saraf, my batchmate?
Yes, yes.
Oh, that's why when you said UP, so I just saw your name. Oh, good to hear from you, man.
That's so nice. See, I generally don't want to butt in unless there's something which I think
It was good to hear you. If I would have known the other day, I was in Calcutta for a night actually. If I would have known, you stay in Calcutta, na?
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh, otherwise I would have said hello to you actually. The other day I had a couple of hours. I was returning from Farakka actually. And so went to see another friend. Of course, did some official work also. Maybe next time I'm in Calcutta, I'll certainly look you up. Good to hear from you.
No.
So what can be done is, since time is less, I also have another meeting. What can be done is that it's good that, in fact, we should have perhaps a more interaction with the industry which are associated with both the programs which I have, mainly Jal Jeevan Mission, Swachh Bharat Mission. Of course, I look after other things also, irrigation, flood control, sewage treatment plants, etc. So you can always flag these points. Of course, flagging points face to face certainly has a more value actually. But from your organization, you can also either mail me or something, and I'm sure that we will look into it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sir, we will collate all the questions and any other points that are there post this meeting and send it to your office so that you all can look into it, sir.
Okay, fine.
Sir, just one, I know you're a little stressed with time, but one last question. I will request Shri Akhil Sonthalia to kindly ask. Akhilji, please.
Sir, this is not a question. It's more of like the implementation of the liquid waste management and the solid waste management, which we are, the government has decided to.
Akhilji, your voice is not clear. I don't know if it's at my end or it's everyone.
No. I also could not hear what you said or could not decipher what you said.
Sorry, I hope the voice is now clear.
Yeah.
Yes, it is more of a comment, or I would say I would like to appreciate the government's point on going forward with the solid waste and liquid waste management early on. As soon as we are going and providing the household connections and the Jal Jeevan Mission program, and as soon as we do this also, it will be a very long-term and very good planning which we are doing. I really appreciate the government for taking this step and moving forward with this. We really see that the standard of living and everything of the rural people will increase greatly. Thank you, sir.
Oh, thank you very much. It's always good to hear. Generally, we don't hear good words from anyone actually. Bureaucracy is usually at the receiving end, but if you say something good, I'm happy. So, okay, so then we can say bye right now, but anytime if there are, yeah. So what I'm saying is that either you can mail me, or if need arises, if you feel so, then we can again have a very short video chat later, maybe after a month or two, if you feel so. That's not a problem for me. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. And I'll just now request Sanjeev ji to kindly propose a vote of thanks. Sanjeev ji.
Thank you, Rishabh ji. After a very engaging and insightful discussion on drinking water and sanitation for all, I take this opportunity to wholeheartedly thank our guest, Sri Upendra Prasad Singh ji, IAS Secretary, Department of Drinking Water and Sanitation, Water Resources, River Development and Ganga Rejuvenation, Ministry of Jal Shakti, Government of India, for gracing this webinar and enlightening us on the core issues regarding drinking water and sanitation. It is heartening to understand that Jal Shakti Ministry mandated to deal with water issues, including drinking water availability with a holistic and integrated approach. It has already set an ambitious task to provide pipe water connections to every household in India by 2025. Thanks a lot, sir, for explaining the central government's mission on preservation of water, improving of sanitation facilities. And thanks for all the insightful insights. Thank you so much. And I sincerely thank all the representatives of the press and electronic media for the kind presence and continued support to us. With these few words, I express my heartfelt thanks to the members of our chamber, friends and business associates for the gracious presence in this session. I now propose a hearty vote of thanks to Sri Upendra Prasad Singh Ji and request you all to carry this with acclamation. Thank you.
Thank you very
sir.
much.
Thank you very much,
Thank you
sir.
very much.
Thank you, friends, and have a great day. Thank you, Sanjeev ji.
It was a good seminar.
Very knowledgeable person. It was interesting.
Very, very knowledgeable. And insights were really, and we really had a very small session. Otherwise, would have loved to hear about Ganga rejuvenation plan and the river fronts. You know. Those were
Correct.
really burning issues right now.
Actually, he was a little in a rush, so I didn't want to.
Yeah,
drag it.
that's true. But it was an excellent.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay.